I am Dr. Bernadette Marson, and today I am going to talk about how to handle a big communication difference between partners. The question is, what if my partner talks a lot and I don't? One of the most frequent yet poorly understood issues in relationships occurs when one person is significantly more talkative than another. In the long term, if the difference remains unresolved, it often results in frustration, emotional distance, miscommunication, and even resentment. A more vocal person can start feeling ignored, emotionally distant, or unappreciated. A quieter partner can start experiencing emotional overload, pressured into response, criticized, or emotionally drained by all this communication. Eventually, both people would start believing we just don't communicate well together. Yet very often, this belief does not mean the end of the relationship or a complete disconnect from another person. It just means that people have a communication difference, which requires more understanding why this information is important to know. The problem with communication lies in the fact that it is much deeper than simply talking to each other. Good communication involves emotional safety, being emotionally present, active listening, understanding another person, and establishing a connection. Why some people talk more than others? There are many reasons behind different communication styles, such as personality traits, childhood experience, emotional comfort, patterns of attachment, different culture, anxiety issues, or the ability to process emotions internally or externally. While some people need conversation to emotionally regulate and feel safe, others may need some quiet time to emotionally reflect and gather their thoughts before starting a meaningful conversation. Neither type is automatically worse or better than another, but difficulties start occurring once people begin taking them personally. Pursue, withdraw pattern. In most relationships, sooner or later, communication differences lead to what is commonly known as a pursue-withdraw pattern. On one side, there is a more verbal person who is pursuing conversation by asking questions, talking about emotions, or expressing thoughts out loud constantly. On the other hand, a quieter individual will begin withdrawing because he or she starts feeling emotionally overwhelmed, pressured, criticized, or emotionally outpaced. The more a person communicates, the more he or she gets emotionally disconnected from the partner, and vice versa. Here is an example. James and Mary's case. James and Mary were dating for 6 years. Mary described herself as a highly expressive person who liked sharing her emotions with others. Coming back home from work, she would often want to talk about her day, feelings about events, concerns related to the relationship, and all ideas constantly filling her head. On the contrary, James was a quiet and introverted man who required some quiet time to decompress after a busy workday. For Mary, his silence seemed like not caring, emotional availability issues, or lack of commitment. As a result, she started complaining that she always carried all conversations and that he was emotionally absent. For his part, James admitted he often felt mentally overloaded, pressure to give an instant response, and emotional drain after a long conversation. Slowly but surely, Mary kept pushing him towards conversations, while James was retreating emotionally deeper and deeper. Neither of them did it intentionally, but this difference between communication styles became a source of problems. After understanding their emotional needs better, they managed to build a good emotional pattern, which helped them balance their relationship. Why these differences start turning into emotional issues. Miscommunication usually leads to emotional issues because people start taking it personally. A more vocal person may interpret the silence of a partner as disinterest, lack of emotional connection, or inability to communicate. A quieter individual can take a more emotional approach and interpret the constant talk of the partner as emotional overload, constant criticism, or the desire to push away the silent person. These personal interpretations can create an emotional disconnect in a relationship because one believes that another person doesn't care enough. Important fact about silence. The main misconception about communication is that people assume a quieter person cares less. Actually, many silent individuals emote deeply, love intensively, and experience many emotions, yet they show them differently. Similarly, expressive people are not necessarily too much emotionally because they prefer talking. Very often, people express themselves through action, consistency, physical touch, problem solving, or doing something else. The point is to realize that communication has different forms, and people should learn how to emotionally connect using their natural communication style. Tips for dealing with the issue. 1. Stop laying labels. Don't label your partner as never talkative, too talkative, emotional, unavailable, empathic, because it will not solve anything. Instead, concentrate on how you feel and express your needs using I phrases. For example, I feel closer when we exchange ideas and thoughts. Or, I may need some time before emotionally connecting. 2. Figure out your communication differences. Discuss with each other such things as what helps feeling emotionally close, when conversations become emotional, when you both feel emotionally open and receptive, because it may help to understand your needs. 3. Schedule emotional conversations. Often, couples manage to establish a pattern of communication which can include 15 minutes talk per night, one weekly conversation about the relationship, or some other pattern that fits your needs. Structured communication decreases unpredictability and makes it easier for a silent partner. 4. Start practicing active listening. Even though communication includes verbal expression, listening plays a key role here. You can practice active listening by making eye contact, expressing emotional validation, asking for clarification, and repeating feelings back to your partner. Even small comments like, I understand where you are coming from, can show emotional involvement without being too talkative. 5. Respect emotional decompression time. Silent individuals need to prepare emotionally before reacting to someone's questions. Instead of putting pressure, say, take your time, I'd like to discuss this later, which allows someone to decompress emotionally before a conversation. 6. Pay attention to emotional flooding symptoms. Emotional flooding happens to people who can't cope with all emotions they experience. Some symptoms of emotional flooding include withdrawal, irritability, avoidance, staring blankly, or emotional breakdown, and usually make the conversation useless. Therefore, sometimes shorter emotional discussions can be far more effective. 7. Recognize the same forms of love and connection. People can emotionally connect in different ways, which means that a person who rarely speaks may be loving, romantic, empathic, or caring, just in a different way. It often seems that people cannot stay together because of their communication differences, but it doesn't have to be like that. As people can differ in their ability to connect with each other through conversation or any other form of communication, a healthy relationship should include emotional flexibility, awareness of your own needs, and emotional understanding of another person. It is important to know how to emotionally connect without forcing anyone into your own communication style, because good communication is not just about talking. For more on this and similar topics, subscribe to my YouTube channel and newsletter.